But I don't have to comment on that.
I was going to say, he's an awful trusting man.
That is. Is this going to be a long meeting, Matt?
I mean, I don't anticipate it being a long meeting.
He's awfully hesitant in his answer.
I caught that.
Well, I know there've been times before where I thought meetings were going to be short, and they ended up being quite the opposite. So I'm optimistic that this will be a brief meeting, but we'll see.
Janet, it all depends on how many questions you ask.
Well, going over the applications, it looks like it's fairly self-explanatory. I don't see many problems with it if there's no problems with the neighbors or anything.
There you go. That just shortened the meeting right there.
Yeah, I haven't really gotten many phone calls from the neighbors, and certainly none of them that were where they expressed any concern. So.
Okay, Darren, is it that church that we looked at on Leestown Pike?
Yep.
That's what I thought.
That church is operating off Winchester Road right now. I know who they are.
Yeah. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
I have earbuds, but you're watching. I know enough about them to be dangerous.
That's me with this. As long as the phone will do what I want it to do, that's all I care about.
There
I
you go.
can't hear you.
Do what?
Kim's gone. Nope.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
I can.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear us?
No.
Everybody start moving their lips. That way she thinks.
That's mean. Somebody's watching Andy Griffin.
Yeah, that's in the background. That's here.
Is Bethany watching that?
Yes, actually she is.
Is she? I like that show.
It's about the only thing to watch on TV anymore that's safe to watch on TV anymore.
Gunsmoke.
I guess everybody watched the debate the other night.
Oh, Lord.
I made
don't
it
think
5
we should
minutes.
go there.
Mike, are you doing okay?
Yeah, I am. I think I'm having trouble with my microphone though, so maybe I might have trouble. You might hear me.
I can
I
hear
can
you.
hear you.
I guess as soon as I mean, hopefully Kim can work out her audio issues, but we can start whenever.
Did you say something to me?
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, I've got the live streams up. Whenever you're ready, we can start the meeting.
I had some operator errors, so I think I'm better now.
Excellent.
All right.
Imagine that.
Listen, you're the first time you can get it set up, so don't start. The Scott County Board of Adjustments meeting for October 1, 2020 will begin. We need approval of the September 3, 2020 minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look at them? I'll accept a motion to accept them.
All right, I wasn't at the meeting, but I'll make the motion to accept the minutes as they have been written.
I have a motion from Darren. Do I have a second?
I'll
This
second
is
it.
Janet.
I have a Darren and Sonia. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The minutes from September are approved. And we're going to swear people in as we go to each case, right, Charlie?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I've slept since last meeting. We have no old applications. So the first one for new is S 2020-28. Matt, do you want to explain this one to us about reducing the front yard setback?
Yes, yeah, I can do that. Before I do that, I did want to say, as I mentioned to you earlier, Kim, we won't be hearing S-2020-30. It's item C under new applications. It's the application at 783 Burton Pike. There's some paperwork that we require from the applicants to show that they're in compliance with property taxes, the code enforcement department and other agencies. And they were not able to complete that paperwork prior to the meeting. So I will postpone them to next month's agenda.
Okay.
That's S 2020-30, Matt.
Yes, that's correct.
All right.
Yeah, so as far as this application, S-2020-28, the applicant is looking to reduce the front yard setback from 50 feet to 44 feet at 164 Gemini Trail. The current zoning or the zoning on the property is R1A. It's a single family residential. Ultimately, I am recommending approval of this application, but I did want to, I guess, go through the staff report with you all. The house as constructed now is set back about 72 feet from that front property line. The applicant, as you can see from their materials that they submitted as part of their application, is looking to construct an addition on the front of their house that would potentially encroach 6 feet into the 50-foot setback. When I look through the items that KRS lays out, the findings that we would need to make to grant a variance, I don't find that approval of this application would adversely impact the public health, safety, or welfare. It's also such a large setback and such a small variance request that I don't think it would alter the character of the homes in that area, and that it wouldn't cause a hazard nuisance to the neighboring property owners. It is somewhat of an unusual situation where it has an R1A zoning, which typically has 40-foot front yard setbacks. However, this lot was created prior to zoning in Scott County. And so for one reason or another, this whole neighborhood was established with 50-foot setbacks, even though they are, smaller than the lots that we would today require 50-foot setbacks on. As far as I can tell, the applicant has not taken any actions that would be considered willful violations of the zoning regulations. And so I am recommending approval with the findings that the variance wouldn't adversely impact the public health, safety, or welfare. It is sort of an unusual circumstance because of the typical setbacks for this zoning district. I am, however, unaware of any other front yard setbacks that have been approved in this neighborhood. The three conditions that I'm recommending go along with that variance are all standard, complying with our local regulations, as well as federal, state, and local other agencies other than the Planning Commission, as well as requiring them to obtain a building permit prior to any construction.
All right. Is the applicant present?
I do not see them on the list of attendees, unless they're, I guess, attending under a different name.
Do any of you have questions or discussion?
Charlie, do you see any concerns or anything with it?
No, ma'am.
Were you around when Moon Lake Estates was developed?
I was here when the country was discovered.
Well, I was
but-
trying to be nice, but
But this was actually before the country was discovered. So no, ma'am, I wasn't.
okay. I was just wondering why they had that 50 feet there instead of the 40 feet setback.
The lot started out much, and this is just history I've learned, not because I was here, but the lot started out really large. Again, not like, as Matt said, not like we currently require in the A1 zone. And some of them were set back quite a ways, such as this 72. There's been a time or two during the 60 years since, or whatever it is, that they've actually subdivided some of these lots even further. So that's why you have some today that are fairly conventional residential size, and you've got some that are still, quite estate sized compared to that. This may have been one of those small, one of those larger ones, but regardless, they all set back quite a ways. At least a number of them did. So this is really a fairly usual kind of situation. But on the other hand, it does limit ordinary kinds of home additions. So that's why I think this is just perfectly acceptable.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Do I have a motion on 2020-28?
Yes, this is Janet Holland. I'll make the motion to approve application number S-2020-28 for the variance on 164 Gemini Trail, Ralph and Teresa Menderos, and subject to the 3 conditions of approval.
If I could, Janet, suggest making it subject to the entire staff report, because in addition to the 3 conditions, he's also got the reasons why he thinks this satisfies the statutory requirements of things that we consider.
Okay, Mr. Secretary, I will add that in.
Thank you, ma'am.
You are welcome.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Darren is second. All those in favor say aye.
Bye.
Did I? Then we have approved S 2020-28. We'll move to 2020-29.
Thank you. I'm going to take a second. I'm going to allow the applicants for this application to speak.
Okay.
Okay. So this application is S-2020-29. The application is for a conditional use permit for a church. The property in question is located at 2911 East Leestown Road. It has an A1 zoning, which is our agricultural zoning district. I am recommending approval of the application. Looking at the background for this site, it was approved for a conditional use permit back in 2001 for a church on the site. And then again in 2012, it received a conditional use permit or perhaps an amendment to the existing conditional use permit to allow sort of a part-time operation of a veterinary clinic office on the site as well. Churches are conditional use in all zoning districts in Scott County. They are specifically called out as a conditional use in the A1 zoning district, as I note in the staff report. And this site has been, used as a church, and to the best of my knowledge, we've not received any complaints about that use as a church, and so I don't see any issues going forward. The applicant has indicated in their supporting materials that they would hold services on Sundays from 10 a.m. To 12:30 p.m. and that they would also hold an evening service, I guess one Friday a month from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Outside of that, there would be small group activities on the site, as well as periodic weddings, funerals, conferences, and other religious workshop activities. I found that those were inconsistent, very consistent with typical church usage, and I don't anticipate any of those having a negative impact on the neighboring property owners. They did mention in as part of their materials that they intend to utilize the existing sign frame and basically just replace the face. And I note in the staff report that they'll just need to reach out to the building inspection office as far as what permits may or may not be required as part of that action. So my findings for this application are that the site has been constructed as a church and used as such in the past. We've got no records of complaints or concerns about operation of the site as a church. And on top of that, the site is a little over 26 acres in size and is situated pretty well away from the residential neighborhood that it was developed as part of. And so I don't anticipate there being any new issues with this permit. I am recommending approval with the 5 conditions listed in the staff report. The first 2 are basically the same as on any other application. I do note with condition 3 that they will need to come back to the board if there's any changes which affect the approved condition. So if they decide they want to expand the building or hold more events outside or something like that, they just need to come back to the board to make sure that that's approved. The conditional use permit is null and void upon the sale or transfer of the property, and that they, any changes to their signage will need to go through the building inspection for appropriate permitting.
All right.
Matt, I've got a question. This is Janet. Is the
Yes.
veterinarian office still in operation, the clinic?
Since that was a conditional use permit, that permit would become null and void when the property changes hands. So even if it's in operation today, which I don't know that it is, as soon as the new church completes the transaction, or if they have already completed that transaction, that permit would no longer be valid.
Okay. All righty.
If the applicant is present or online, Charlie would like to swear you in, please.
I'm here as the attorney for the applicant. My name is Bill Moore. I'm an attorney over in Versailles. Hello, Mr. Perkins.
Bill, welcome. And they even require us attorneys to swear in anymore. Is there just nothing sacred? If you would raise your right hand, please. Do you swear affirm what you're about to say to be the truth to the best of your information and belief?
I do.
And probably ought to say, and to the best of what your clients told you. That's usually the way it ends up. Anyway, thank you. And welcome to the meeting.
If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Ireland, the minister, is also, or I saw his name appear as where he was participating or at least watching the proceedings.
Oh.
Is he gone now?
I'm here.
Yeah, I show that he's here as well.
Well, then let me get him too then. Do you swear affirm, sir, that what you're about to say to be the truth to the best of your information and belief?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well,
Go ahead.
I've reviewed the staff report. It was very thorough and have no objections to the findings, the recommendations, the conditions that were imposed seemed very appropriate. And unless you have questions, we really don't have anything else to add.
Do any of the board members have questions of the applicant?
No concerns. This is Janet. No concerns or calls from surrounding neighbors or anything, Matt?
And no, I've not heard from any neighbors on this application.
Okay.
Matt, can you hear me? This is Mike.
Yes, I can hear you, Mike.
Okay, in reading the purchase and sale agreement, initially they were talking about 7 to 8 acres, and then there's an amended contract, I believe, that stated issues exist as to the zoning regulations pertaining to the property that may render it unmarketable unless the entire 26.441 acres of which property is a portion that is conveyed to the purchaser. Can you explain
Yes.
that?
Yes, I can. This lot, as well as I guess the other large lot to the south and the residential neighborhood there, were all developed as part of a cluster neighborhood, kind of like we discussed last week with Pemberley Cove. This lot was set aside as preserved acreage for those smaller residential lots that are part of the neighborhood, so that they didn't all have to be 5 acres minimum in size each. And so I think what happened was the previous owner may have thought that they could amend the property lines as far as the preserved acreage is concerned, and that's not really something that's possible. We don't allow for the preserved acreage to be, I guess, amended, I guess, in that manner. If just to make it brief, we don't. The Planning Commission doesn't allow the preserved acreage to be, for the most part, changed once it's established.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve S-2020-29, taking into account the staff recommendations as well.
Do I have a second?
This is Janet. I'll second.
All those in favor of approving S 2020-29, say aye.
Aye.
S 2020-29 is approved for the conditional use permit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Then ready to move on to S 2020-31. Rita Jones is applying for a conditional use permit. Matt, speak to us, please.
Yes. Give me just 1 second to get to the appropriate
Yes.
slide. Okay. This application is for a conditional use permit for a secondary single-family residence for a farm worker. The location of the proposed house would be at 696 Old Oxford Road. The property has a zoning of A1, which is once again our agricultural zoning district, and I am recommending approval of this application. This is an aerial photo. It does not take into account the entirety of the subject property, as it's a roughly 300-acre farm. But I find that the zoning ordinance lists secondary single-family residences on the same track for related family members or for hired farm workers as a conditional use in the A1 zoning district. So typically with applications like this, we try to make sure that they've got sufficient acreage to meet our density requirements, which this 300-acre farm does. We also like to make sure that any potential residences on the property are at least 100 feet apart, so that we don't run into a situation down the road where we may need variances should the applicant look to sell one or more houses on the property. I believe this meets that as well. So in my findings, I find that being a 300-acre farm and one additional house should not have any negative impacts on neighboring property owners. It's not located all that close to any of the property lines either. The lot is large enough to continue to meet our density requirements, and the applicant has stated in their application form that the house would be for a farm worker. So I'm recommending approval with 3 conditions listed in staff report. The first 2 are still the same as they are on the other applications. And then the third just being a reminder that they need to obtain a building permit from the building inspection office prior to construction.
All right, thank you. Is the applicant present?
I don't see them on the call. Well, someone has raised their hand, so let me unmute.
Hi, this is Rita.
Hello.
Hello,
Charlie,
this is Rita.
Hi, Charlie Perkins, would you like to swear her in, please?
Yes, ma'am. Could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the statement you're about to give to be true? truth to the best of your information and belief.
I do.
And for the record, you're Rita, not Allison.
I am.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, that's my daughter-in-law.
Quite all right.
So I was just here if you had any questions.
No concerns or anything, Matt? This is Janet.
No, I had I think 2 phone calls from adjoining property owners that were notified, but I think they were all on the Newtown side, Pike side of the farm, and they had no concerns or issues with it. They mostly just wanted to know where on the farm the house was proposed.
Okay.
So have you put the new residence in, or this is proposing to put it in?
No, I've actually put it in. It is a double wide, and I had a friend who had an emergency situation in Fayette County and needed to move it as soon as possible. So we went on and moved it to the farm, and it's sitting there waiting on the building permit to be exercised.
All right. Do we have any questions of the applicant? Any of you? Do we have a motion?
This is Janet again. I'll make the motion to approve application number S-2020-31, the Rita Jones request for a conditional use permit at 696 Old Oxford Road. Approve it in accordance with staff recommendations.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Who was that, Mike?
No, Darren or Sonia? Which one do you want?
I just raised my hand. I think Mike spoke. Go with Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right. I was waiting on somebody else to do it. You can take Mike's.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. S-2020-31 has been approved for the additional residents.
Thank you very much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. And that moves us to S-2020-32.
Yes.
Alan Handelman, a variance to reduce the side yard. Matt, would you like to explain this?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, if I can say one thing first. My siblings and I own a farm across 75. We got a notice on this. With 75 in between, they could do anything they want over there and we'll never have a clue. But I want it on the record that, yeah, we're there and it doesn't make a bit of difference to us. But, well, I don't know if it does, maybe I could leave the meeting. No, Janet wouldn't allow that. So never mind. It doesn't mean anything to us, but I want to put that in the record.
All right, thank you for your honesty, sir.
All right. This application is for a variance. In hindsight, I probably should have labeled it as a front yard setback, as the setback is requested from the property line, or the variance is requested for the setback that on the property line that's closest to I-75, but they are looking to reduce it from 50 feet to 35 feet at 4069 Cincinnati Road. The zoning on the property is A1, which is our agricultural district, and I am recommending approval. Looking at the staff report, there are no previous conditional use permits or variance applications on the project site. I guess this whole lot, it's about 95 acres in size, was set aside as the preserved acreage for the Cedar Hills cluster development. The applicant has submitted an accompanying narrative that I did include in the packets, stating that a previous contractor working on the project did not get the appropriate permits before beginning construction. And now the applicant has parted ways with that contractor and is now trying to finish the project. And so he's trying to obtain a building permit for a building that was started and has was constructed closer than the 50 feet to that property line. So when we look at the items required by statute, once again, I don't find that approving the variance would adversely impact the public health, safety, or welfare, or alter the character of the general vicinity, or cause some sort of nuisance to the general public. The project site is large enough that this probably won't ever be seen by any of the adjoining properties. It is maybe somewhat visible from I-75, but I don't think that's of great concern. I think even if it had been meeting the 50-foot setbacks, it might have also just been visible from I-75 just due to the elevation differences. I think the request seems reasonable, and because the setback is being requested, the reduction in the setback is being requested from I-75. I don't think that there should be any issue with approving this variance. So I am recommending approval with the three conditions listed in the staff report, including that, I guess in finishing the project, the applicant should obtain a building permit through the building inspection office.
All right. Mr. Perkins, would you like to swear Mr. Handelman in, please?
Yes, is he up yet?
I'm here, yes.
Do you raise your right hand, please? And do you
Yes, sir.
swear or affirm that the statement you're about to give be the truth to the best of your information and belief?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Charlie.
Do any of the members of the board have questions for him? Is there any discussion from members of the board?
If there isn't, I just want to mention two things, if I may.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. The first I have a question, and that's on paragraph 2 of the conditions. I assume this only applies to if I were going to use this building for business purposes, is that right? It refers to federal, state, local regulatory entities, any other permits or requirements? Is that what paragraph 2 refers to? Obviously, paragraph 3 is about a building inspection permit, which I understand.
Yes. Basically, I guess item 2 is sort of a catch-all, just requiring that you abide by all state, local, and federal requirements.
Okay.
Just sort of in general on the site.
Okay. And the only other thing I wanted to mention, I went out there and did a much more accurate measurement, and I just wanted to disclose that the southern tip of that building is actually a fraction over 33 feet. It is under 34 feet, it's between 33 and 34 feet. The other end is between 34 and 35 feet. So the 35 feet it's not a full 35 feet. I just want you to know.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, one end is just over 33 feet. The other end is just over 34.
Do we have any questions or discussions of the applicant? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve application S 2020-32, Alan Handelman requesting a variance to the side yard setback from 50 to 33 feet at 4069 Cincinnati Road, subject to staff recommendations.
Have a second?
I'll second.
I have a first and second. All those in favor say aye.
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 We approve S 2020-32.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Charlie, have you got all that?
Every bit of it.
Good.
But I'm still waiting for the hammer to come down on the meeting.
Oh, well, it's about to. Is
Okay.
anyone Are there any other items on the agenda? Then, Madam Chairman adjourns the meeting. Have a nice day.
Excellent. You have a great day.
Everybody stay